All right, today we're stepping off the court and into the boardroom. We're going to decode the insane high-stakes world of pro-athlete contracts. It's a world where just one signature, one little scribble, can change a whole franchise, not to mention a life, forever. So let's dive right in.
So, you think it's all about that huge salary number, right? Well, think again. See, the modern athlete's counteroffer, it's this really complex mix. You've got performance bonuses, sure, but the big one? The rights to their own image. That, my friends, is where the real money, and yeah, the real power, is usually hiding.
So that brings up a huge question, right? How does an athlete's entire future get mapped out before they even step foot on the field for a single game? Because this isn't just about sports. Nope. It's a high-stakes game of business, of law, and of pure power, all played out long before the season even kicks off.
All right, let's pull back the curtain and step inside the negotiation room. This is the place. This is where careers are literally forged in this strategic battle of wits, numbers, and of course, leverage.
At its core, it seems like a pretty simple process, almost like a dance. The team makes an offer, the player's side can accept it, reject it, or, as is usually the case, they come back and say, hey, nice try, but let's talk about what we really want.
So in that room, you've basically got three key players. First, there's the athlete, right? They're trying to secure their entire future. Then you've got their agent or lawyer, whose job is to squeeze every last dollar and advantage out of every single clause in that deal. And finally, there's the team, the owner, trying to build a championship roster. But when on a budget, it's this incredibly delicate balance of competing goals.
And yeah, this is where the numbers just get staggering. I mean, a superstar could earn, say, $50 million in salary, but pull in $100 million from their image rights and endorsements. And all of that gets negotiated right there in the contract. It really puts it in perspective, right? The salary is just the tip of the iceberg. The real wealth, that's built on the brand.
Okay, but it's not all about the money, not by a long shot. You've got to think of these contracts as an athlete's personal bill of rights. They literally define their freedom, their security, and even how long their career might last. So one of the most crucial clauses in any contract is this: is the money guaranteed? Let's take the NBA. There, it usually is. You sign the deal, you get paid, even if you get injured. Simple. But then you look at the NFL, a whole different story. Many of those contracts are non-guaranteed. That means one bad hit, one serious injury, and a team can just release you. And poof, the rest of that money is gone. It is a massive financial risk for the player. And beyond the money, the contract secures other really vital protections. Things like free agency rights. That's what gives players control over their own destiny, where they get to play. And then there are the clauses for health, safety, and long-term medical care. I mean, those are absolutely non-negotiable. They're there to protect a player's well-being long after they've hung up their cleats.
Okay, but let's zoom out for a second. These individual contracts, they're just one piece of a much bigger puzzle. Because hovering above all of them is this master document, a single ultimate rulebook that governs the entire league.
And that document is called the Collective Bargaining Agreement, or the CBA. Honestly, you can just think of it as the constitution for the entire sport. It's this massive legal agreement that gets hammered out in these intense negotiations between the league owners and the players' union. And it dictates everything, from minimum salaries all the way to drug testing policies.
And creating the CBA, well, it's a constant tug of war. On one side, you've got the league. They're pulling for things like cost control and competitive balance, trying to keep any one team from getting too dominant. And on the other side, you have the players' union pulling for higher salaries, better benefits, and of course, stronger safety measures. The final document, it's always this hard-fought compromise that sets the stage for basically everything that happens next.
I mean, have you ever wondered why your favorite team can't just go out and sign every single superstar available? Well, the answer is the CBA. That's exactly why rules like the salary cap exist. They're a direct result of these negotiations, and they're designed to keep the league competitive and stop a few super wealthy teams from just, buying championships.
So why does all this legal stuff matter so much? Because a single, strategically crafted contract can literally reshape an entire league. To see what I mean, let's look at how one player in particular used his rights to completely shift the balance of power in the NBA.
I'm talking, of course, about LeBron James. He is the absolute master of leveraging his contract. Think about it. The decision back in 2010, that wasn't just some TV special. It was the dawn of a whole new era of player empowerment. Then, when he returned to Cleveland, he did it on a series of shorter deals. Why? To give himself insane flexibility and year-to-year leverage over the front office. And finally, his move to LA just solidified it. It proved that the biggest superstars could dictate their own terms, choosing their franchise and their city completely freely. He didn't just play the game, he totally changed how it's played off the court.
So, let's wrap this up with a few quick takeaways. First, these negotiations are always a complex balancing act between money, performance, and an athlete's personal rights. Second, you got to remember that contracts are there to protect both the player and the team. They set the rules for everyone. And third, the CBA, well, that's the backbone, the ultimate rulebook that governs the whole show. Get those three things, and you're well on your way to understanding the real business of sports. It all leaves us with a pretty big question, doesn't it? As these contracts get bigger and bigger, and the athletes gain more and more power, who is really in control of modern sports? Is it the players, the owners, or maybe even the fans? So the next time you see one of those record-breaking contracts flash across your screen, you'll know. The real game is just getting started.